What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today rather than doing a full-on guide, I wanted to show you my thought process on deck building and trying out new strategies. And what triggered this is originally I wanted to do a video on all the new best cards in OP12 and PRB2 for every color. I started with red, and the two cards that stuck out to me were the 4-cost Kobe and 6-cost Law. On paper, these abilities are fantastic, but the main downside is these cards have to sit on your board for a turn before you can use them. But what if you didn't have to wait? Well, neither of these cards have an on-play effect, meaning we can use the Sanji Leader to give them rush on the turn they are played. So I decided now is the perfect time to try out this leader, combine these new cards with some other new ones within red, and see if I can create a Sanji Leader that has both aggression and control. Is this a secret OP technique, or am I going to lose every game? Let's go find out. Sanji is a 5-life, 5k power leader with the activate main ability where once per turn, up to one of your characters without an on-play effect and with a cost of 8 or less gains rush for this turn. This means we'll be looking to fill our deck with the best type of red cards that have when attacking, on KO, or activate main effects. And I know I want to include the Kobe and Trafalgar I talked about before, but what are the other best cards out there? So step number 1 was doing that research. And I focused on recent cards since we haven't seen too much of this leader in recent play, but I also looked back to see what people have historically played with him to see if there's anything I could use there as well. Starting our new cards list is the 3-cost 3k power Sanji, who during your turn gains 3000 power. This means we can make this a 3-cost 6k power character with rush, who also draws us a card on KO. We then have the 4-cost starters like Zoro, which I think is great for 2 reasons. The first is by attaching to Dawn he gains rush, meaning in later turns we could play both him and another character and have them both attack, as we can attach to Dawn to him and then use our leader ability on another one. The second is his on KO effect, as we can then play a red character with 6000 base power or lower from our hand other than Zoro. This is great since he'll be rested after he attacks with rush, but if our opponent does choose to remove him, we can then drop down another 6k power character from our hand. And a target for this ability is the 5-cost Luffy from the same starter deck, whose ability effectively makes him a 5-cost 7k power rusher. Unfortunately, in OP12, there are slim pickings for new red cards, as pretty much every card is focused on the new Rayleigh leader. However, there is this 4-cost 6k power Shanks blocker, who on your opponent's attack allows you to trash one card and give minus 2000 power to one of your opponent's leaders or characters for the turn. This card could be very useful in the Zoro matchup, as it will allow us to turn his 2 8k swings into 2 6k swings, which is a lot easier to deal with. And of course, we'll be using the 4-cost Zoro and 6k Law as I mentioned before. When it comes to existing cards, the first one that came to mind is the 6-cost 6k power Wapple, another card we can cheat out with Zoro, but also one where by attaching one Dawn and attacking, turns him into an 8k power character until the end of your opponent's next turn. There's also the 2k counter 2-cost Sanji, where by activating our leader ability and his own ability, we can turn him into a 2-cost 7k power attacker. And finally, we have the 3-cost 4k power Tony Chopper blocker, where by attaching 2 Dawn allows us to give minus 3000 power to one of our opponent's characters. So with all that in mind, I decided to balance this deck around aggression and control, as I'll give all my characters rush on the same turn they are played, but then also use power manipulation to KO my opponent's characters. So this is my starting deck list, and the main idea here is to reduce my opponent's power and then use multiple effects to KO them based on that power reduction. So when it comes to power reduction, the first card we have is the 1-cost Otama, who is a 2k counter, but also has the on-play effect to give minus 2000 power. We then have the 3-cost Tony Chopper, who once again requires 2 Dawn attached, but then gives minus 3000 power to one of our opponent's characters. Or we can just play him and use him as a blocker. By attaching 1 Dawn to the 6-cost 6k power Wapple, we can turn him into an 8k power character until the end of our opponent's next turn, and give minus 2k power to one of their characters until the end of this turn. And rounding off our power reduction characters is the 6-cost 7k power Law, who when attacking gives minus 2000 power to one of their characters, but is also sticky, as if our opponent would remove him for any reason, we can instead give him minus 2k power for the turn. So as you can see, we have a whole bunch of power reduction, which makes them easier to KO through battle, but also makes them subject to KOing effects from other characters. So what cards can we combine them with? Well, the first one I found is the 3-cost 4k power Nico Robin, whereby attaching 2 Dawn allows you to KO one of your opponent's characters with 4k power or less. The 5-cost 6k power Pell has a similar effect, only requiring 1 Dawn attached, but also KOing one of our opponent's characters with 4k power or less. And the nice thing about this card is that 6k power will be able to cheat him out with our 4-cost Zoro's on KO effect. And honestly speaking, I should be running 4 copies of him. I just really wanted to try out either Whirlpool or Law into Newgate and see if that combo made sense for my 6 into 8 Dawn turns. And speaking of, we finally have the 7-cost 8k power Newgate, who on play allows you to give one of your rested Dawn to one of your leaders or characters, and also has the activate main effect to rest him and KO one of our opponent's characters with 5k power or less. Now because he has an on-play effect, we won't be able to give him rush, but that's okay because we're not looking to attack with him on the turn he is played, but rather activate his effect to remove one of our opponent's cards. The thought process I had is at 6 Dawn, I want to play either Whirlpool or Trafalgar Law and get them on the board. I'll then attack with them on that turn, but at 7 or 8k power and with cards in my hand, I'll be able to defend them from our counterattack on the following turn. If I then combine their 2k power reduction with this new gate, that means each turn I'm going to be able to KO one of my opponent's characters with 7k power or less. Now in my head, this is a great idea. Is this actually going to play out into games? I'm not sure, but when you have these types of things and when you're working on deck building, the only way to know is to just try it and see what happens. And rounding off our removal, we have the 4 cost Gum Gum Mole Gun, allowing us to KO one of our opponent's 7k power characters, or at least just give minus 5k power to one of their characters to use one of our other removal effects and then KO them afterwards. So going card by card, we're running 4 copies of Otama, a fantastic 2k counter, and also gives us some extra power reduction if we need it in a pinch. We're also running 4 copies of the 1 cost 1k power Nami with the activate main effect to give up to one of our rested Dawn to one of our leaders or characters. This is fantastic for playing cards out on curve and still benefiting from the when attacking ability, as at 5 Dawn or 6 Dawn we can play out Whirlpool or play out Pell and still benefit from their when attacking ability, as she'll be able to attach 1 Dawn to them. We're also running 4 copies of this 2k counter Sanji, which we can also turn into a 7k power character with Rush at the cost of adding the top of our life to our hand. We're also running 2 copies of another Sanji 2k counter, who has the on-play effect where you can target one of your Straw Hat characters with 6k power or more, and your opponent cannot block them for the rest of the turn. This can be a nice way to sneak a win out, as you can target our 3 cost Sanji, 4 cost Zoro, or 3 cost Tony Chopper with this effect. And speaking of, we're running 3 choppers. I wouldn't mind running 4, but again, as I'm testing out these different cards, it's kind of hard finding that balance, and I want to include them all to see how they play and see how much value I get from them. We're then running 4 copies of the 3 cost 3k power Sanji. I think this is our best card to play at 3 Dawn, and even can be a great card to play at 4 Dawn, as we can often sneak out an extra attack and get our opponent down early. Especially if you played the 1 cost Nami on the turn before. At 3 Dawn, you could swing 5k with your leader, then play down this Sanji, activate your leader ability, activate Nami's ability and give him a rested Dawn, and then swing 7k after that 5k. And while he won't stay on the board on the following turn, being only 3k power, he will draw us a card on KO, replacing him from our hand. We then have the 3 cost 4k power Nico Robin, who once again is one of our removal options, and I think I could be running more of, but again, I'm testing things out, so I just wanted to run 2 copies for now and see how she plays. And one thing I was thinking about, against Blue Purple Luffy, if they play down Zoro, we can actually use her on our 4 Dawn turn to KO them, as long as we played a Nami on the turn before. This is because we would play her down for 3, attach the active Dawn to her, activate Nami's effect to attach a rested Dawn, and then use our leader ability to give her rush and have her swing 6k while removing that Zoro. I'm then running 3 copies of the 4 cost 6k power Shanks, which is another reason why I'm only running 10 counters, as once we get him on the board, we'll be able to turn any card in our hand into a 2k counter. And we're running 3 copies, as again, this is one of the cards I'm testing. We're then running 4 copies of Kobe, as his ability is just too useful in certain matchups, and it's fantastic to play him down, attack, KO a character, and draw a card all in the same turn. And this is a card you should defend with counter, as if you counter out and lose a card, on the following turn when he attacks, you'll add another card to your hand. We're then running 4 copies of the Zoro, as his on-KO effect is just so useful, as we can bring out the Shanks, we can bring out the 3 cost Sanji, we can bring out Kobe, or we can even cheat out either the Pell or Wapple. And now I've talked about every card, but just rounding things off, we're running 2 of Pell as I mentioned before, as we're just testing him out, only 3 of Wapple, as Trafalgar Law kind of outshines him with his removal protection, and then 4 new gates and 3 mole guns. Our first game is against the Yellow Captain Kid, a leader known for its strong defense with high-powered blockers. So my goal is to be as aggressive as possible in the early game, get his life low, and then use power manipulation in later turns to bring down those blockers and weaken his defense. And I'm going to keep my starting hand since I like my Dawn curve here, and I have options into 4, 6, and 8 Dawn. Turn 1, he drops out the 1 cost Luffy, finds a 2 cost Capone blocker, and then ends his turn, and at 2 Dawn I didn't have anything to play, so I just end my turn right back. He then swings 6k at life, and we have no reason to counter, being a 5 life leader, so we add a 1 cost Nami to our hand, and he drops down the 2 cost Capone blocker. I guess in hindsight I should have countered out, since I now have 7 cards in my hand, and while this Kobe will KO his Capone, I'm not going to be able to draw a card with his effect. But it's still useful to get this off the board, as it provides removal protection for his other supernova characters. I then swing 5k at life, and he counters with a 1k. To start his 5 Dawn turn, he attaches 1 to Captain Kid and swings 6k at our Kobe, which of course will counter with a 2k. To finish his turn, he drops down to Basil Hawkins, and then turns him into a blocker with his leader ability. We then start our 6 Dawn turn, drawing another 2k, but if you notice I have 7 cards in my hand, so before I do anything, I want to play down a character, so when my Kobe attacks, I can benefit from his +1 draw. So I play down the 6 cost Law, before attacking with Kobe, activating his effect to trash the Luffy, and then drawing a Shanks. My opponent counters this attack with a 1k Scratchman. I follow this up with a 5k swing for my leader, and he blocks with Basil Hawkins and trashes the top of my life, which was a 7 cost Newgate. I then activate my leader ability, giving Law Rush and swinging for 7k, which brings him down to 3 life. He then starts his 7 Dawn turn, beginning with a 5k swing at our Kobe, which once again we're going to counter out of. He then drops down the 7 cost Law, which allows him to add 1 supernova character to the top of his life before giving 1 rested Dawn to his leader. So looking back, the optimal play would have been to play Law first and then be able to swing 6k at my Kobe. He then ends his turn, using his leader ability to turn his Law into a blocker by turning his life face up. We then begin our 8 Dawn turn, and I draw a Wapple, which I think is going to be my best option here. Because his Law is at 9k power, so even if I attack with my own Law and drop him down to 7k, my Edward Newgate still won't be able to KO him. So I play him down first, as I'm now at 6 cards in my hand, and when my Kobe attacks, I'll be able to draw another card. I then attack first with my 7k Law, bringing his Law down to 7k as well, and meaning that even if he blocked, he would still need to use a counter. I then attach 1 Dawn to Wapple, activate my leader ability, and swing another 9k while turning his Law into only a 5k power blocker, and this attack brings him down to 2 life. I then attack with my Kobe, activating his ability to draw another card and adding a new gate to my hand. He counters his attack with a 2k, meaning he either doesn't have a 1k in his hand or wants to play one on the following turn. And finally, I swing 6k with Leader, which is successful and brings him down to 1 life. And with a pretty large hand, my only goal this turn is to protect my 6-cost characters so I can use their power reduction along with new gate on the following turn. And my opponent's now in a tough scenario, as we know he's going to want to play that 7-cost Law to increase his life, but that will only leave him 2 extra Dawn to work with to threaten my board. Which is exactly what he does, playing down the 7-cost Law and adding a 1-cost Scratchman to the top of his life. He then swings 6k at my Kobe, and while I could defend him with the cards in my hand, I want to save all my counter for my larger bodies, and he's already done his job, so I'm willing to let him get KO'd. He then attaches 1 Dawn and swings 10k at my rested Law, and I will use 2 2k counters to keep him alive. He then ends his turn with 1 Dawn up, activating his leader ability to reveal the top of his life and restanding his Law and turning him into a blocker. We then start our 10 Dawn turn, and to start things off I want to swing 7k with my Law, once again turning his own Law into a 7k powered blocker. And he activates his 1 Dawn event, which gives him plus 3000 power, negating the attack. I then make a mistake here, playing down new gate and giving 1 rested Dawn to Wapple, as this now lets my opponent know that I can KO a 5k powered character. So what I should have done is just use one of my active Dawn, attached to Wapple, and then attacked, making him a 5k powered character, and then drop down new gate afterwards. Because the way I did it, he now knows this Law will be KO'd, and he's now incentivized to block with him, whereas if I didn't reveal my new gate, he might not block with him for the chance that he might survive. But since he knows he's going to get KO'd, he blocks with Law and negates the attack. And while I could swing 8k with my leader, I haven't used my leader ability this turn, and with 3 Dawn remaining I could play the Sanji and make him attack, so I decided to go as wide as possible, first swinging 5k with my leader, which brings him down to 1 life, before playing Sanji, activating my leader ability, and swinging for 6k, which he counters with a 2k. And while we don't have much counter in our hand, the fact that we have 4 characters on board means likely 1 to 2 of them are going to survive and be able to apply pressure on the following turn. He drops down the 6-cost Kuma, allowing him to trash 1 card and add the top of his deck to the top of his life. He then attaches 3 Dawn to his Trafalgar Law and swings 12k at our rested Wapple. There's nothing we can do there, he gets KO'd. He follows this up with a 6k swing at our Sanji. Once again, we can't do anything, so we get the KO and draw a card. We then also draw for turn, and while I would love to use some combo to remove his Trafalgar Law on the board, I don't have any other power reduction, so he's going to remain safe for now. But what I do notice is he only has 3 cards in hand, and the top of his life is a non-counter card, meaning I think we're going to have enough to go for game. I start once again with a 7k swing for my Law, bringing his own Law back down to 7k power, which is successful and brings him down to 1 life. The good news is, even though he added a card to his hand, I know his total counter remains the same since it was a non-counter card. I was then thinking about what my best option to play here is, as I know for a fact I want to swing 7k hits at him so he can't get a free block with a 7k powered Law. I almost swung with my 8k powered new gate just to see what happens, but as you know we should always attack in ascending order, so before I do that I'm first going to play out this Sanji onto the field. I then activate my leader ability, giving him rush, and then attaching 1 Dawn to make him 7k power, which is successful once again, bringing him down to 0 life. I follow this up with an 8k swing from my new gate, and he counters out with a 0-cost event, giving him 3000 power, and then trashing a 1k counter to bring him up to 9. Now I could do one big swing with my leader, but with the 4-cost Zoro in hand and 6 Dawn up, I can actually play him down, attach 2 Dawn, and give him rush as well. And so first I swing 5k with my leader, as also if I bait out his blocker, I could go for game with the Zoro. But he doesn't take the bait, discarding a 1k counter to counter out. So with our remaining Dawn, we drop down Zoro, attach 2 active Dawn to give him rush, and then swing 7k, which he's forced to counter out with his own Law, which KOs him. We then end our turn, but with only 2 cards in hand and nothing valuable to play, our opponent forfeits the match. Game 2 is against everyone's favorite leader, Blue Purple Luffy, and I decided to go second as this is just ideal for our Dawn curve. And I really like the 1-cost Nami in this matchup, as we can spend all of our Dawn but still threaten a 6k swing with our leader, as we'll be able to attach one of our rested Dawn. He of course played nothing on his first turn, we dropped down the 1-cost Nami on our second, and then at 3 Dawn he plays the 3-cost Doflamingo, allowing him to look at the top cards of his deck, rearrange them in any order, and place them at the top or bottom. For my 4 Dawn turn, the card I want to play is this 4-cost Zoro, as many Luffys run the 5-cost God Thread, which is going to KO this character, but even if he gets KO'd, I can cheat out one of the other ones in my hand. So I spend all my Dawn to play him down, activate Nami's effect to give 1 rested Dawn to my leader, and then swing 6k at his own leader, which brings him down to 2 life. And just as expected, at 5 Dawn he plays God Thread, which KOs our Zoro and ramps him 1 Dawn, but Zoro's on KO effect triggers, which allows us to play out a 6k powerless character, and we're going to use this to cheat out the 5-cost Pell. He then swings 6k at life, which we don't counter, but this actually triggers Mulgun, which we can activate to KO his Dofi blocker. But Pell can KO a 4-cost character when he attacks, meaning this would be a waste to activate, and we'll save it for one of his bigger bodies on following turns. Now at 6 Dawn, we want to play the 6-cost Law, as he has protection from the 9-cost Big Mom's effect that places a character into our life. And unfortunately we don't have that, so we're going to have to work around either the 4-cost Kobe, 4-cost Shanks, or 3-cost Sanji. And with only 6 cards in my hand, I decide the best option is going to be the 4-cost Kobe, who will draw me a card when he attacks. And so the first character I want to attack with is Pell, as I can attack and KO his blocker at the same time. I then follow this up by giving my Kobe rush, attaching 1 Dawn, and swinging another 6k, which also draws me a card, which is the 3-cost Tony Chopper blocker. This attack is also successful, bringing my opponent down to 1 life. I then attach my 1 remaining Dawn to my leader and swing another 6k, which he counters out of with a 1k counter. He then starts his turn and is now at 8 Dawn, meaning on the following turn he's going to gain access to his leader ability and start drawing 2 cards per turn. So a timer has now been set for me, as I need to start winning this game in the following turns, because the longer the game goes on, the more resources he's going to get, and the harder it's going to become for me. He then attaches all but 3 Dawn to his leader and swings 11k at my Kobe, and there's nothing we're going to do here, that card's going to get KO'd. Against other leaders, with only 6 cards in hand and 1 life, you might think that we're in a position to go for game, but against Blue Purple Luffy, things aren't that simple. This is because he runs a lot of powerful events, such as Gum Gum Giant, Gear 5, or Thunder Bagua, which can give him a huge power boost. And with 3 Dawn up, he likely has 1 or 2 of those in his hand. And when you think about it, these cards are great at countering out big swings that are either 3k or 2k above his leader. And so the best thing we can do is try and make him waste them on low-powered attacks that are either equal or slightly above his leader's power. It's kind of like the opposite of efficient defense is efficient offense, as if we swing 7k and he's forced to use a counter that gives 4k power boost, he's wasting that card as he's using it to stop this very weak attack. Which is exactly what we see here, as he uses the 2-cost Thunder Bagua to counter out of just a 7k swing. This happens with our leader attack as well, as he's forced to use the Gear 5, which gives a 3k power boost, when we only swung 6k at his leader. And to finish off our turn, we drop down the 3-cost 2020 Chopper, not only a blocker, but also very useful minus 3k power boost if we swing with 2 Dawn attached. With his leader ability, he adds Gum Gum Giant to his hand before adding the rest of the cards to the top of his deck. He then starts with a 6k swing at our rested Pal, and the only 1k counter we have in our hand is the 2020 Chopper, a card that I want to keep, so instead I'm going to have to use a 2k counter. He then spends 9 Dawn to play out Sanji, revealing the top card, playing down a Lin, returning 1 Dawn, trashing 1 card, adding a life to his hand, and then placing my Sanji at the bottom of my life. Now unfortunately I don't have a Wapple or a Trafalgar Law to play, but we have to make do with the cards in our hand. This is also why I held on to the Mulgun, as I knew I would get more value from it in later turns. So to start off my turn, I attach 2 Dawn to my 2020 Chopper, swing 6k at leader, and give minus 3k power to the Charlotte Lin. This also takes a life, bringing him down to 1, but he also gets a trigger, which allows him to ramp 1 active Dawn. I will then play the 4-cost Gum Gum Mulgun, and since my Tony Chopper gave a minus 3k power boost to this Lin, I can target her with a 5k power boost and then KO her. And in a similar theme to the previous turn, since he has 3 cards in hand and 2 Dawn active, I'm going to swing only 6k as I want to force him to waste one of his counter events. Which he does, as he's forced to use the 2-cost Thunder Bagua, giving him a 4k power boost even though I only swung 6k. I was debating between whether I want to play the 3-cost Chopper or the 4-cost Kobe, but I realized that I want to continuously draw as many cards as I can since he will be as well, so I play out Kobe, activate my leader effect, and give him 1 rested Dawn, swinging another 6k. Which draws me another card, adding the 1-cost Nami to my hand, and also bringing him down to 0 life. To start another 10 Dawn turn, he starts by activating his leader ability, adding a 2k counter Usohachi to his hand, before adding the rest of his cards to the top of his deck. He then swings another 6k at my rested Pal, and I'm going to use the 1-cost Nami I added to counter out. He then swings 9k at my Kobe, nothing we can do, he's KO'd. He then uses another Sanji into Lin combo, once again returning 1 Dawn, trashing a card, adding a life, and then placing my Pal at the bottom of my life. I then start a 10 Dawn turn, adding another Kobe to my hand, and I now have some decisions to make. It can be very tempting to go for game with 2 big swings, but as I mentioned before, if I'm unsuccessful, I'm now going to have no further board development, and he's going to have 3 to 4 9-cost bodies in the field and quickly turn the tides. So I continue my strategy of death by 1,000 cuts, attaching 2 Dawn to my 2020 Chopper and swinging another 6k, which he counters out of with a 2k. I then want to draw an additional card, so I'm going to play out Kobe and attach 1 Dawn and do the same thing. Swinging 6k at life, drawing 1 card, which is my 4-cost Zoro, and then getting another 2k counter. And with only 1 card in hand, which I know is Gum Gum Giant, I'm going to swing 6k at life and bring him down to 0. And you might be wondering why I focused on life rather than his rested Sanji, who I could have KO'd. But the thing is, he's already played 2 Lin and trashed 1 of them, meaning he only has 1 remaining in his deck. So the chances of him finding another is going to be pretty rare, meaning if I get him down to 0 life, he's likely going to stay there for the next turn, putting me in a position to go for game. And so with 3 Dawn remaining, I play down yet another 2020 Chopper and get him on the board. Starting his 8 Dawn turn, my opponent first activates his leader ability and adding a 2k counter 6-cost Sanji to his hand. He then places the rest of his cards at the bottom of his deck, which is a good sign as it means he didn't like what he saw. He then begins his board clearing way, swinging 9k at my rested characters, which I can't defend as he starts to take them out. I think he also realizes he needs to start bringing down my life so he can win on following turns, so he swings 9k twice, bringing me down to 4. And we add both a Wapple and a new gate to my hand, which would have been great on following turns, but still something. He then drops down the 6-cost Sanji blocker and ends his turn, meaning he only has 3 cards in hand, 1 blocker on the field, and 4 Dawn available. And while I know he has 1 Gum Gum Giant in his hand, with this 2-cost 3k power Sanji in my own hand, I'm developing a strategy that I think can go for game. Because what I can do is attach all my Dawn to 2020 Chopper, play down this 2-cost Sanji, prevent him from blocking, and then swing 13k at his life. And even if he has Gum Gum Giant, that would only bring him up to 10k, meaning the other 2 cards in his hand are going to both have to be 2k counters. So I decide to go for it, attaching 8 Dawn to my 2020 Chopper before playing out the 2-cost 8k power Sanji and activating his effect. I then use Nami's effect to give him another rested Dawn and swing 13k at his life. He starts by activating Gum Gum Giant, returning 2 Dawn, trashing 1 Rosinante, drawing 2 cards, and then activating another Gum Gum Giant, which we hate to see. I'm not sure if he already had this in his hand or if this was one of the cards he drew. And so this leader was able to defend a 13k power swing without losing any cards in hand, but he does go down to 6 Dawn. I realize now I might have thrown this game, but there's nothing we can do about it now. We just gotta keep playing and see what we can do. And if he did draw Gum Gum Giant with his other Gum Gum Giant, then, those are just odds that we have to take. 30% of the time, that works every time. But back to the game, he started with 6 Dawn for the turn, so he didn't gain access to his leader ability and only draws 1 card. He starts with a 9k swing at life with Lin Lin. We're not going to counter out of this, so we add a second Otama to our hand. He follows this up with a 9k swing from Sanji, and we won't counter once again, adding the 1-cost Nami to our hand. He then swings 6k at life with his leader, and I want to make sure he's not incentivized to try and go for a game by attaching everything to his remaining Sanjis, so I counter with a 2k. He then swings 9k at my 4k rested Chopper, and I don't have enough counter in my hand to save him, but I don't know if I would have anyways, so I let him go. And lucky for us, he doesn't have another blocker in his hand, so with his remaining Dawn, he drops down the 4-cost Mr. 2. We then start our 10 Dawn turn, and I'm trying to think of the best strategy to try and go for game, as for sure I'm going to lose on the following turn. My first idea is to drop down the 6-cost Wapple, as I could then swing 9k with both him and my leader if I give him 1 rested Dawn with the Nami on board. But with 5 Dawn active, all it would take is 1 event from his hand and then either a 2k or 1k counter, and this would be able to stop that attack. But then it clicks, and I realize what my best play is. I need to use the 3-cost Nico Robin in combination with Otama. So first things first, I play down Otama and give minus 2k power to the 6k power Sanji, bringing him down to 4. I then play down a 3-cost Robin, using Nami's ability to give her 1 rested Dawn, and then activating my leader ability to give her a rush. And with 6 Dawn remaining, I attach 3 to Nico Robin, making her an 8k power character, and then swing 8 at the Luffy while KOing the Sanji. And I figured even if he has another Gum Gum Giant, I'll be able to swing 8k with my leader right afterwards. And it turns out this is enough to win. He was bluffing an event, and we get the W. Our next game is against Green Zoro, a notoriously aggressive leader who's going to be able to both KO our characters and swing at life on every turn. And I did mulligan, and I find a Zoro into Wapple option, which is going to be great for our 4 Dawn curve. We have nothing to play at 2 Dawn, so we end our turn, and they start their 3 Dawn turn by resting their Searcher, adding a TCG to their hand, so we can expect that on the following turn, before swinging 7k at life, adding a Sanji to her hand, before drawing the 1-cost Nami for turn. And while playing Kobe would be nice, as I could target his leader and still KO his Searcher, I know that whatever I play is going to be KO'd on the following turn, and so I want to play out the 4-cost Zoro. So I play him out, give him rush, swing 5k, and take the first life. As expected, on his 5 Dawn turn, he drops down the 5-cost Tashigi, who on play allows him to give 3 rested Dawn to his leader, and then swings 8k at our rested Zoro, which we do not counter. This is part of our plan, as we use him to cheat out the 6-cost Wapple. He then swings 8k at life, which we take, adding a new gate to our hand, before drawing another Zoro for turn. Now of course at 6 Dawn, I would love to play the 6-cost Law or another Wapple, but unfortunately we don't have that in our hand. So to start, I'm going to play out the 1-cost Nami, as getting her on the board will allow me to reuse some of my Dawn that I spend each turn. And with 5 Dawn remaining, I realize I'm at 7 cards in hand, meaning if I play another character, such as this Kobe, I'll be at 6 cards in hand and can draw with this one attacking ability. So I start things off with a 5k swing for my leader, which he counters by discarding a 1k. I then play down the 4-cost Kobe, attaching 1 active Dawn using my leader ability to swing 6k, which brings him down to 3 life, and also adds a Nami to my hand. And to finish off the turn, I attach 1 rested Dawn to Wapple, swing 7k, which becomes 9, and brings him down to 2 life. For his 7 Dawn turn, he plays out another 5-cost Tashigi, giving 3 rested Dawn to his leader, before attaching another Dawn to his leader, and swinging 9k at our rested Kobe, which we're going to let go. He's done his job. He then swings 7k at life, and we're going to counter as we know a 9k leader swing is going to follow, and being at 1 life is something you don't want to do against this leader, as he can use his event to restand and attack multiple times for 9 or 10k. We're now at our 8 Dawn curve, and we've unlocked our new gate into Wapple strategy. So first things first, I'm going to play down the 7-cost new gate and give 1 rested Dawn to my leader. I'm then going to give 1 active Dawn to my leader, and then use Nami's ability to give 1 rested Dawn to Wapple. I decide to attack with him first, doing a 9k swing at life while bringing down the rested Tashigi to a 5k powered character. I then decide to do something a little different, as I want to swing 7k into this 5k powered Tashigi to see if I could bait him out to use counter, which is successful as we bait out the 1-cost event that gives it plus 3k power. Then we activate Newgate, use his ability to KO, and end our turn. He then starts his 9 Dawn turn by playing out the 8-cost 8k power Mihawk blocker, who on play allows him to restand 4 Dawn. He then swings 7k at life, and I could counter out of this, but I want to protect my characters on board, as I'm going to try and go for game on the following turn. So we take the hit and add a Kobe to our hand. He then attaches 4 Dawn to his Zoro leader and swings 9k at our rested Newgate, and we'll use a 2k counter. Actually, just kidding, we'll use 2 1ks. I want to keep this 2k counter just in case there's a win condition with this Sanji or Zoro, as I can make them unblockable. And to start our turn, we pick up exactly what we want to see, Gum Gum Mold Gun, which will be able to kill this Mihawk as long as he's lower powered. So first things first, we're going to swing 9k with our Wapple and bring him down to 6k. Our opponent probably sensed we had something like this in mind, as he actually decides to block the Mihawk, which is the right call, as we were going to KO him right after this. And with no life remaining, I know I need to go for game here, so I was trying to figure out the best way to do that. I start by attaching 1 Dawn and swinging 9k with Newgate, which is a very efficient swing, as it will force either a 2k, 2k, 1k, or an event in 2k to get out. And it is the first, so we get 2 2ks and a 1k out of his hand, bringing him down to 4 cards. The tricky part is that 1 active Dawn, as it's likely a 3k power boost, and it's going to make it a little difficult to go for game. So I need to use the most efficient play that's going to allow me to go for the 2 biggest attacks, And the best card for that is going to be our 3-cost Sanji. This is because no other card in my hand will allow me to get a 6k power character on the field for only 3 Dawn. And so when I was thinking about the 3 Dawn to player, as well as the 1 Dawn I get back from Nami, I realized my best attack was an 8k with Leader, followed by a 9k with Sanji. So I start with an 8k swing for my Leader, which is successful and brings him down to 0 life. And with all cards on the table, I play down Sanji, use Nami to give her a rested Dawn, give her 2 active Dawn, and then swing 9k into life. And it turns out our opponent has exactly 9k counter in hand, so we just barely get the win. And our final game is actually 2-in-1, as I want to show you how you can use rematches and different strategies to find out what works and what doesn't against certain leaders. We're playing against Enel, a leader who is known for his ability to play well into aggro decks. So for my first time playing him, I wanted to see if I could just beat him down and take down his life before he has a chance to get into the late game and consistently heal. So you can see I'm getting aggressive early, swinging 5k at life and then 6k into life and bring him down to 1 life on his second turn. Unfortunately for us, we're playing right into his strategy as he's playing Starve Enel. This means his goal is to keep our life as high as possible, as he has many different cards that are going to work based on how much life we have, before starving us of all our resources and then going for game with a massive board. But we've already committed to our strategy, so I want to see if it works, swing 5k at life and bring him down to 0 before activating his leader ability, discarding a card, and then gaining a life back. At 5 Dawn, I did want to play this Zoro, but looking back, I should have just played Sanji and activated his ability, as this would lower my total life and kind of work against his strategy, as it would also give me some more resources to play with. Once again, this is exactly what he wants. He counters with a 2k to remain at 1 life, and then starts his 6 Dawn turf. He then swings 5k at our rested Zoro, but since we've been depleted of so many resources we can't even counter, and we activate his effect to play out Wapple, which is exactly what our opponent wanted, as he then plays out Gidatsu and kills one of our cards that is equal to or less than our total number of life. We then find the 6-cost Law, which is great in this matchup as he provides removal protection for us, but it's just a little too late. Look at our hand size compared to our opponents. And while he's only at 1 life, he has many cards that are going to be 6, 9, and 10 cost that are going to allow him to heal. So even if we continuously bring him down to 0 life, he's going to continuously heal on the following turn. So as you can see, I try to go to board removal myself, but with his hand size versus mine, I'm just running out of resources, and it's so easy for him to remove my characters on the field. My Trafalgar Law lasts for another turn, but with 3 cards to a 7, it's going to be an uphill battle to try and get this back. My only hope is to remove his board and give me some chance to kind of establish my own and get into a cycle where I'm continuously KOing his characters. So I play down Newgate, swing 8k at his rested 6k powered character, and get the KO. I then swing 7k at life to bring him down to 1, and then KO his active character, which brings him back up to 2. He then KOs my Law by trying to remove him and then swinging 7k at him, before playing down another Kuma and going up to 2 life. And while you do see me applying pressure, removing a life with my leader, removing a life with Sanji, activating Gum Gum Mole Gun to KO his character, and then taking another life with my Edward Newgate, you can still see his hand size versus to mine, and that's really not changing. And while you see me hold on for dear life and try and get some momentum in this game, it's just never consistently held, as every turn he just counters, removes one of my characters, and heals another life. As early as turn 3, this game was kind of doomed from the start, as my strategy was just completely wrong against this leader. It was something to try and learn, but I realize now that going aggro into Enel is a surefire way to lose. I thought potentially because this is a new strategy and new leader, it might work, but 100% it does not. But of course, this is all part of the testing process. You have to try out different strategies and see what works and see what doesn't. This is also why I always say that rematching your opponent is the best thing you can do, since now you have both a better idea of each other's decks and how they work, and you could re-strategize and figure out what you need to do next. So after another turn of trying to claw my way back in, I realized that this game is basically over. He's going to win on the following turn, so I asked him at this point if he'd be okay with a rematch. And lucky for me, he said yes, so now I have another opportunity to try out a different strategy against this leader. The first thing we learned is all-out aggression isn't going to work. We're going to keep our characters active and not be too strong to give them a card advantage in early turns. And secondly, I don't want to play a 3-cost character who can use Kuzan to add to my life and force me to trash a card. And the best card we are looking for we do find, which is the 6-cost Law, which has some nice removal protection, and it won't be easy for him to get rid of him. And I know at 4 Dawn, anything I play, he's going to look to remove with one of his abilities, so I'm just going to play nothing and swing everything at life. This does give him 1 card to his hand, but I'm okay with that. We can't do nothing. So we bring him down to 3 life and end our turn. And at 5 Dawn, he has nothing to play. This is fantastic for us, and likely means he either had Gidatsu or another card that he wanted to use to KO one of our characters. At 6 Dawn, we're going to play the 6-cost Law and then end our turn. This Law has built-in removal protection, meaning he can't use one of his effects to remove him, and since he's active, he won't be able to target him with an attack either. Our opponent once again does not play anything and does not spend any of his Dawn. He wants to keep us at 5 life and try and starve us out. But if he won't take our life, then you know what? I will myself. So first I swing 5k with Leader before playing Sanji, activating my ability to give him Rush, and then taking a life to my hand and swinging 7k. Which does hit a trigger, which allows him to place Sanji at the top of my life, which kind of counteracts that effect, but you know what? At least I tried. I then swing 7k with Law, bring him down to 0 life and activating his Leader ability, where he trashes 1 card and re-heals back to 1 life. To end off the turn, I play Shanks, as this means even if my opponent tries to remove Trafalgar Law and I give the minus 2k power boost, I'll be able to defend him with either my Shanks blocker or with a 2k. But my opponent drops on Yamato and KOs Shanks before swinging 5k at life. And while I could counter, I have no problem with taking this as we're at 5 life right now. We then add another 2-cost Sanji to our hand, which is great to see. You'll also notice that this game is working out very differently than the previous. In later turns, we're pretty much equal in hand size, and our life is still above our opponents. And now that we're getting into later turns, our goal is to apply some pressure and work on some solid board removal. And I realized that exactly 10 Dawn, I'm going to have enough to play out Newgate, play out Otama, and play out the 2-cost Sanji. So I almost played out Newgate first, but of course he gives a run rested Dawn to a leader or character, so first things first, I want to play out the Sanji. So I play him first, followed by Newgate, and then play out Otama to give minus 2k power to the Yamato. I then activate Newgate's ability, trash the Yamato, and activate both my leader and character Sanji's effect to swing 8k at life, bringing my opponent down to 0, and unfortunately we hit the 0-cost trigger, which actually heals him 2 life. But nothing we can do about that now, and our board presence still looks phenomenal, with 3 characters that can threaten their life. To start their next turn, they play down the 6-cost Kuma, who allows them to trash 1 card and add 1 card from the top of their deck to the top of their life. They then attach all remaining Dawn to their leader and swing 9k at our rested 3k Sanji, which gets the KO. We then start our next 10 Dawn turn, and with the 4-cost Zoro in my hand, I realize I can essentially give 2 of my 4-cost characters rush, as I could play down 1 4-cost character and give him rush, and then attach 2 Dawn to Zoro, which also gives him rush. But before I do anything and play any characters that could get hit by triggers, I want to start by attacking with my Law and bringing his Kuma down to 5k again. This is because I could then use Newgate to KO him, removing all characters he has on the board if I want to. But before I do that, I'll swing 5k with Leader, which does take a life and activate a trigger, which allows him to KO my Otama, but we're fine with that. I followed this up with a 7k swing from Law, bringing his Kuma down to 5k, which again takes another life. And I know I've mentioned before that we should attack in ascending order, but I realized that I have exactly 8 cards in my hand. This means if I play Zoro first, attach 2 Dawn and swing 7k, and then play out the 4-cost Kobe, I'll have exactly 6 cards in my hand and can benefit from his when attacking draw ability. So the 7k swing from Zoro gets a knockout, so then I play Kobe, activate my leader ability to give him rush, swing 5k, and draw a card to my hand, which is another Newgate. And I was fully expecting my opponent to counter with a 1k, but they actually take the hit. I think they might have been fishing for a trigger to try and get another body on board. But this changes my strategy. I don't want to KO their Kuma and add a card to their life. I'd rather pressure their life right now and force out 2 2ks from their hand, which is exactly what we do and end our turn. They start their turn with a 5k swing at the Kobe, which we're going to counter with a 1k. They then swing 7k at the Kobe, and we're going to let this go as we want to protect our bigger bodies on board. They then drop down the 10-cost Enel, who has rush, and when attacking allows them to trash 1 card and add 1 card to the top of their life. And then their Enel gains plus 1000 power. But with 3 2k counters in my hand, I decide to defend him as I'm pretty confident in the following turn that we can go for game. I almost start with a 7k swing for my Law, but I realize that Zoro is the only one that could be targeted with one of his KO triggers, so I swing first with 7k from him, which my opponent counters with a 2k 1k. We follow this up with another swing from Law, which he counters out of with a 2k 2k. We then swing 7k with our own leader, which you know he'll be unable to counter with 1 card in hand, which brings him down to 0 life, but then he heals with his leader ability. And with 6 Dawn remaining, I decide my best play is going to be play out the 5-cost Pell, attach 1 Dawn, give him rush, and then swing 7k by him, followed by 8k with Newgate. So I drop down Pell, give him rush, attach 1 Dawn and swing 7k, and really hope to not have my opponent hit a Capone trigger. The attack goes through, it is successful, and no trigger is activated, so then we swing 8k with Newgate, which is enough to win the game. As you can see, these 2 games played out very differently, so make sure you're always learning from your previous games and figuring out what other strategies and what new things to try. After testing this out myself, I do believe that this leader can be a solid option and use power manipulation and KOing effects to control your opponent's board. And it is true what they say, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, as your opponent is forced to deal with your rested characters before they go for your life, which often keeps you healthy in earlier turns. With that being said, I do think some more testing is required, as my current deck list is kind of all over the place, and I do think that I need to focus down and figure out where this deck is going to excel. In addition, there's a lot of cards I didn't use, the 2-cost Monet, 3-cost Rush Zoro, or 3-cost other Zoro, so there's just many options that I haven't got a chance to test yet. So let me know in the comments, are you trying out this leader, or is there a control and aggro version that you're trying to play? I would love to see the cards that you're having success with as well. Thank you so much for watching. As you can see, our testing is far from finished, and there's still a lot of tweaks that need to be done, but overall, this leader is really fun and really engaging to play. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I'll catch you next time.